the general fund will stay at 20 mils as it has. The LOB will actually go down 0.671 mil to 16.089. Capital outlay will stay at 8 mils. And so the total mill levy will go from 46.361 down to 46.209, down 0.152 mil.
Just as one of the things that we are planning in this year's budget then is the pay off the no fund warrant. And you can see the mill levy there will go up 0.57. And kind of offsets the decrease in the local option budget mill levy, but rather than carry that out another year, we'll pay that off in 1 year and then not have anything the following year. The other information, the Form 150 we had talked about before. We are in the process of getting enrollment numbers now. They're still in flux. It's going to be, always September 20th and then in October. And we met today and went through the processes and procedures to try to expedite this and make it as easy as possible. Craig gave me his numbers today from the middle school, and I think they're fairly accurate. And he's up 52 in the middle school. Elementary numbers, I'm going to say that we are going to be about where we were last year. And high school, when I talked to Marty, the same thing. There's always a lot of students that we get funding for that go in our account that counts, or when we look at the F-150 that determines all of this, there's a lot of those students that we get funding for that aren't necessarily sitting in a desk. I was going to say something else, but sitting in a desk in our building. They get services, whether it's special ed, they may be homeschool students, whatever, but we get a lot of those FTEs that way. So that's what we're waiting on and trying to clean up all of those things, and then all the weightings, obviously. But I think our budget is going to work out pretty good, and the numbers may not come in quite as high as we estimated, but again, we always want to do that high, and we'll be able to manage accordingly.
But Dean, they're not as off as they were last year? They're not coming in as off as they were last year?
Well, I'm going to go out on a limb and say no.
Okay.
Honestly, we don't know till we get all the weightings, but no,
Okay.
we won't be off 152 or whatever it was, no.
Okay.
There'll be, yeah,
Okay.
we will not be off that much.
So we are pretty close right now with enrollment projections?
I think we're fairly close. We projected high, remember. Elementary, I think we thought our numbers were going to be a little bit higher than what they are right now. We're still cleaning up things. I think the largest class, and Sarah, you can tell me what we had reported today, 26 in the class?
In the fourth grade?
Yes.
I thought it was 27. I thought they had 27 in the one class and 25 in the other, just because they were going to split it evenly and then.
26,
Yeah.
okay, that could be.
Right, they wanted to keep
Yeah.
some people, so that was a decision. And actually, I spoke with both of those teachers last Wednesday, and I guess at least the one class was at 25 last year for Windholtz, and so that was not a change, and I can't remember what the other one was. So, they're packed as usual, and granted, that was the fifth grade loop last year, which is a little bit easier than the fourth grade, but I really appreciate the teachers stepping up and their attitudes.
They've been great.
It's just,
Yeah.
they were very positive that it could be handled. And
We have one at Lincoln that has 25 now and a couple of 24s in that area. It's not quite as bad as what we thought, but again, we'll monitor all of that, and we have certain classes maxed out. We're not going to allow students to transfer into those or enroll them in those classes, and so I feel pretty confident with that.
And again, I just want to make sure that we're requesting feedback from those teachers, and I don't know when the right time is. I don't know how many weeks it takes for the things to settle, but We did say there might be some money for a para if needed.
We'll check, yeah, we
If
need to wait a
needed
little bit,
Okay.
obviously,
Okay.
and see where our numbers are, but,
Okay.
Let the dust
and
settle.
see how they're doing
Okay.
that way, but yeah, I know Shannon will be in touch with them a lot, and we'll skip by.
In the high school, some staff, so it doesn't look like it did last week, and I know the elementary principals met today, and there's still some new kids coming in. It really has helped to have that spreadsheet and say, we're closing this section, we're going to go to school, which is all great schools, but that has helped manage some of it, so.
And so we have not done that process previously, is that right?
I don't think to this
Or
extent
not.
where we have it online or constantly updating it. We've kind of tried to set, I think limits have been set in the past, but not knowing where others were, it just didn't seem like it was communicated as well as
Okay.
this setup this year and the collaboration with the elementary principals, so that's been a positive.
Because it seems like a good practice to follow,
It is, we need to do it every year.
budget problems or not, you know, or
No,
class
it-
size
It
concerns
isn't fair
or
to
not.
the kids or the teacher or school or anyone to have 27 or 8 kids in one and 18 in another.
Right.
It just,
Right.
we need to continue to do it that way.
Okay.
It's rather, I mean, you have two options, set boundaries or do this, and I think you can control it right now rather than go through the hassle of setting boundaries and all that. I think we can control that, doing it this way, and just as we get students to move in to the district, look and see where we
where they
can
are.
place them that will even things out. Just bottom line is that the mill levy is projected to go down .152 mills this year, so that's always good when you can report mill levy going down.
That's everything?
Yeah. And see
Okay.
if there's any
Yeah,
public.
at this time, we would open up the floor to any public comment on the budget hearing. Nobody's gonna jump all at once, huh? Okay, well, I guess at this time, we'll close it to public comment and would ask if we have a motion on the floor from board members.
I move that we adopt the, what is FY?
Fiscal year.
Fiscal year, thank you, fiscal year 15 budget, following, well, we just had the public hearing, right? That was it? Okay. I recommend that the board, I move that we adopt the fiscal year 15 budget and authorize the board president to sign the necessary budget documents.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion from Board Member Rankin, a second from Board Member Lang. Any discussion, comments? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Okay, motion carries 4-0.
Thank you for all the work that went into this, guys.
Thank you.
It'll be easier next year for everyone. I mean, we did a lot of work straightening some things out, and it'll be much easier in the future, so.
And you've got it in that format too, where you can start looking at next year's right away, where they're all gonna be the same?
Working on it as we go here, yeah, because changing everything, there's not a real trend on just looking at line items. You have to kind of do it by hand, but yes, we'll be tracking all of that stuff.
All right, sounds good. All right, well, that concludes the budget hearing for fiscal year 15. Now I would go ahead and call to order the regular meeting for USD 489 Board of Education for Monday, July 18th, 2014. First motion is approval of the agenda. Is there a motion on the table?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Board Member Bickle, second by Board Member Rankin. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carries 4-0. Audience participation, this is the first and only opportunity to address the board. If anybody would like to, please go ahead, come forward, stand at the podium, please announce your name, please.
Hi, my name's Ryanna Meyer, and I'm just coming to ask the board to reconsider the busing of the middle school students back out to the grade schools so that they can walk home in their local communities. I'm one that falls, I think they told me, about 1.9 miles. Not safe for my 7th grade student to walk home, not good with the heat or the cold. And so I'm one that's trying to make other arrangements. But I really feel like, we've taught our kids in their own communities to be safe and to know, kind of safe houses they can go to if there are problems along the way. So I would ask that the board reconsider busing those students back to their local schools to walk home.
Okay.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
If we were, because you're not the only one we've heard this from, is this to go back to Roosevelt, or are you at a different school?
That would be my school, yes,
Okay,
would be
okay.
back to Roosevelt.
And did we have buses going to other schools as well, or just, was it that middle school to Roosevelt? I'm
Russ,
sorry,
you
my
wanna-
question is going to be for you in a second, but I'm trying to understand
We
that.
mainly only had a bus that went from the middle school over to Roosevelt.
Okay.
And what it did, it took a bus load over and then they walked home from
Okay,
there.
okay.
It just didn't have to go through transfer and got home a lot quicker that way.
I see. Okay, so that's where the difference was.
It really wasn't from other schools to schools per se, no.
That was
Okay.
just the drop-off point, basically.
Yes, it was
If-
kind of just a drop-off point, correct.
Okay.
It was just a bus load about 40-some kids on a daily basis.
If we're not able to fund that from district money and we have to come up with a fee for that, would you as a parent be interested in paying a fee to have that service?
I would be. I mean, I enrolled 3 kids at almost, I think, $700, $800. So, I mean, what's another fee for her safety? That's
Okay,
really my,
okay, okay.
yeah, I would.
Thank
Well,
you.
that was one thing that we're going to look at as Russ gets all the routes taken care of and look to see
Okay.
where we are. And I don't know how many kids we're busing right
Okay.
now compared, but we will look at that again and see where we are and what we can do. I can't promise anything, but we're going
Okay.
to look at it and consider some options.
Kudos to Russ, because I don't think he had a very easy job
I know.
with all those phone calls, so he did a fantastic
And
job.
I hate to put you on the spot, Russ and Dean, but do you have a time frame for how quickly that's going to get looked at and when we might be able to?
Are your routes, pretty set now, and you think, are we far enough
We're
along?
just changing it, 2.5 days in school, so.
Sure,
We're
Right.
still
yeah.
changing a lot hour by
So
hour.
I would say a week. I think that's kind of,
I'd say
from
that
now-
It'll probably start slowing down and people
Okay.
still calling and.
and kind of see where we are.
Okay,
And then we'll bring that back and
okay,
let everybody know where we are. But that's the most common request, is that
Okay.
from middle school to Roosevelt.
okay, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For coming. And again, if we could put a dollar figure on it, I don't,
Yeah,
whether
we'll
we decide
put
we can
together-
justify it or not in the budget, but if, gas and whatever that is, just to run that, and then, that's
Yeah,
what I would be
We'll put that
curious
together
about.
after
Okay.
we see where we are and what it would take, but,
Now,
Okay.
that probably opens the other question, though, which is, would we be offering that service to other elementary schools as well? But I don't know, is
I'm
it
sure
because
we'll have
Roosevelt was so
others.
far, are they the farthest, probably?
We had ran to a few other schools, middle school, the Wilson, the Lincoln, and, a few of those happened, but the main group of that was really from the middle school to Roosevelt. There was a few little ones here and there.
Well, I think a large part of that is there's no after-school program for middle school.
Sure.
Yeah.
Involved in activities, and that does take care of some of that, but at your elementaries, you have that after-school program.
Right,
So
that's
those
true.
would be students that are not involved in activity, then that's probably a long walk to them.
Okay. All right, good.
Are there any other comments from the audience? Okay, thank you for your comments. Russ, you thought you were off the job for a while, huh? All right, seeing as we have no others, report of committees?
we have no reports for this evening.
Okay, and at this time, I did see our board clerk did walk in from, of course, her daughter's parent-teacher meeting, and so at this time, I would ask that we do switch that position. Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Cheryl.
Good to go.
Okay. Communications from other organizations.
We have the Early Childhood Director's Report from Donna Hudson Hamilton that is attached to the agenda. That was the only one.
Okay. Report of superintendent.
I talked about enrollment a little bit, and I just want to, we talked about transportation. That was one of the things that I was going to report on, and I think I do appreciate Russ. He had a tough job here early, taking care of all of that, and as we get a little bit farther, we'll look and see where we are and assess all that, just like all the other changes we've made, and see how it's going and report that back to the board. I do want to say that we've had a really good start to the school year. I've been very impressed with staff, just everything in general. I know I personally am very glad to be here for the beginning of the school year rather than coming in after it started, and it's made a big difference for me too to be involved in those beginning of the school year type things. And I wanted to get out, like the board members, I know I heard a lot of very positive comments about you guys going to the evening parent meetings and those things, and with my cold, I didn't make it to any of those last week, and in board meeting tonight with some of the others, but that's very important, and I know you guys will continue that correspondence with people and showing up, and it's greatly appreciated, but I am really looking forward to the school year. That's about all I have. If somebody has questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Anybody got any questions? Thanks, Dean. All right, thanks, Dean. Okay, now for the financial report, we'll go ahead and turn it over to Tracy.
The report that we've been looking at the last few weeks is attached with the updated July numbers. It's attached to the agenda on our website. And I added the period expended, so you'll be able to compare the monthly to where we're at year to date, along with updating the percent allowable on the far right column, and then an exception line. So if we are over, excuse me, the 8.33%, which is 1/12, we'll explain why, and that's on the next to last page, showing maybe if we purchased, one-time software or something along that line that we had come out, an annual fee or something that we paid up front. Those, of course, are going to be over. The only line that we are truly over budget at this point is in red, under the central office, our supply line. We are at 19.54% instead of 16.6%. So it is just a small amount of money, but it is something that we will watch. And so anything that comes up like that, I will have in red, and we'll be able to let you know how we're doing that. That is definitely a line. I'm going to watch all the line items, but that is one we'll definitely make sure that we're staying under.
Do we have any reasons that we know of that seem justified for being over at this time? I mean, is there back-to-school expenses that,
Ordering stuff that you need
Okay.
at the beginning, and
And some office supplies and things were bought that I didn't anticipate.
Okay.
So we'll have to watch it in other areas and make sure we're not going over on that.
You're good. Thanks, Tracy. All right, thanks, Tracy. This makes it a lot easier to read now. Yeah, we can go through it real quickly.
Good.
Appreciate that. All right, anybody else got any other questions for Tracy? Okay. All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda, and I would ask for approval of the consent agenda to include the work session minutes from the July 31st, 2014 meeting, the board meeting minutes from August 4th, 2014, the work session meetings from August 11th, 2014, the authorization of Clayton Holdings to make payment to Paul Wurtenberger in the amount of $16,402.50, the financial report, which includes the July clerk's report, July investment reports, July expenditure report, July building reports, and the petty cash report, approval of bills in the amount of $1,187,073.68, and also the personnel transactions. Is there a motion on the table?
so moved?
Okay, we have a motion from Board Member Lang.
Second.
Second from Board Member Bickle. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carries 4-0. All right, on to new business.
Going back on that just real quick, James, was there no personnel transactions?
Yeah, they're on
It's
there.
on the website.
Oh, it must be off the
There's a
other piece.
very long list of them,
Okay.
yeah.
It's just separate.
I think they're attached, aren't they?
No. It was separate. I'm sorry, I was looking at something else. It's listed under us.
Okay.
So is it not a link off of the agenda? No, okay. Oh, it is separately.
Okay. No other questions, we'll move on to new business. First up is the authorization of the board president to sign the sale of contract for the 33rd Street property. Dean, do you want to kind of go over that again?
At the last meeting, we had approved the sale of the 33rd Street property to John Ziegler for $253,133. And we do have the signed contract, and now we need to give our board president, James Liker, permission to go ahead and sign that on behalf of the board and finalize that transaction.
And again, that money will go into capital
Capital
outlay.
outlay.
Okay, is there a motion to authorize the board president to sign the sale contract for the 33rd Street property?
I'd make a motion to authorize the board president to sign the authorization of the sale on 33rd Street.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion from board member Bickle, second from board member Rankin. Any discussion?
I assume you've looked at the contract, we're
I prepared the contract.
prepared the contract, so we are
So we are good to
Yeah,
go.
and
Commissioner approval?
once it's signed, we'll get that to the abstracting company, and they will do the closing once title's approved.
Okay.
And we are sharing the costs of closing and the title insurance.
And is that normal?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay, if there's no further comments, I'll go ahead and ask for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carries 4-0. All right, we have an update on the district job descriptions. Tracy, do you want to go ahead and go over those?
Yeah, we've made numerous changes in the duties of the classified staff, along with changes to our organizational chart and title changes. So we've gone through and updated all of the job descriptions. I would like to pull out the custodial and maintenance job descriptions though, and not have you approve those tonight. Now that we have Rusty on board, would like to go through those and see if there's any changes he'd like to make. And we had this prepared before he joined us. So if you decide to approve these, we would like to take out the custodial and maintenance and have you look at those at a later date.
Okay, is there a motion to go ahead and approve the job descriptions with, of course, the removal of the custodial and maintenance positions for a later date?
I'd make a motion to approve the job descriptions as presented.
Okay, we-
Second.
Motion by Board Member Bickle, second by Board Member Rankin. Any discussion? Questions?
Do you, Tracy, do you have a time frame for when we'll see the other ones? The custodial and,
I don't think it'll be too terribly long, but we wanted to give Rusty some time to kind of go through the whole, his department and decide what changes he'd like to see and changes in duties or titles or anything like that.
is a month reasonable? 2 weeks, a month, okay.
Now, are these published anywhere? Are they on the web? That's where they'll be housed, or?
Yeah, I think all of them are on the web, aren't they?
I don't think so.
Aren't they? Well, they're on here, the
Okay.
agenda, but,
I was
Okay.
waiting to
As
post
we-
until they were approved.
okay, and then as we advertise positions, they're attached to those.
Perfect. Okay, If there's no further questions, I'll go ahead and ask for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carries 4-0. Up next, we have the approval of recommended KASB policy updates. Dean, do you want to go over that, or do you want Bill to go over
I'll
that?
talk a little bit about it. Every year, KASB does a policy update. We've kind of adopted their policies. Excuse me. Adopted their policies, and every year they send these out. We reviewed and we talked some about it last at the work session, and I'm proposing that we adopt the language that they have put in. They've added some new ones with the exception of policy GBQA, which addresses reductions in teachers, reductions in force, those things. That is in our negotiated agreement, and it would violate that, so we need to pull out GBQA and approve the rest of those as proposed. The special ed ones, the IDAE policies, or all of these, many of these, I should say, address the legislative changes that happened at the end of the session, and they go through and change those. The student privacy laws have changed, what we can do with surveys, having parents opt into things instead of opting out, and all of those things are addressed here. So I recommend that we approve those as presented.
Okay. Is there a motion on the table?
I make a motion to approve the recommended policy updates with the administrative edits as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Board Member Rankin and a second from Board Member Lang. Any questions or comments?
Bill, did you see anything in there at all that would change the way we're doing anything else? or- Okay.
Just the one that needs to, that is addressed in our negotiated agreement.
Okay.
And then the only other question I would have is relative to those ones where parents need to opt in. Are those items that we will have to,
Most of these we addressed with our online enrollment. I
We
mean, that
did, okay.
information was provided. Can you think of anything, Mark, that we didn't address? I think we had a lot of these things early, and I mean, it was a legal requirement, started July 1, so.
oh, okay.
We,
So we
uh,
knew about these and,
The
okay.
survey questions and all of those things, I think, have been addressed.
Okay.
Well, I know have been addressed, so.
Okay.
We need to change our policies that meet the law now.
Okay.
I had a question. The ones that have the blue lines through them, those are policies that were in place already. The ones that have none, are those new policies that we're adopting?
Yes. And there's several new ones on the list.
Okay. All right, anybody got questions or comments? All right. I had just one, and this really kind of goes back to kind of the mission, I guess, of the school, and what we had really had termed this year was building on the best. I talked with Mrs. Yunker, of course, earlier this afternoon, and I'm really proud of the district where it's really headed. Of course, we got the new policy accommodating students with diabetes, and of course, a lot of new federal nutrition guidelines that deal with that as well. And just to see the progressiveness that we're taking towards this, to not only educate kids just in academics, but also in life in general, really speaks volumes for this district, because as I tell a lot of people, it doesn't mean much if you don't have your health. And so anybody that is working on that new committee, the Wellness Committee, I definitely want to thank them for their time and what they're doing for this district, and really what they're doing for the community as well, because having to put policies in place like that to deal with certain specific issues I don't like it, but, I mean, we got to do it, but we've got to be proactive as well, and so definitely my hat's off to Ms. Yunker there and her crew. Of course, all the cooks, I signed up today and actually got my district-wide lunch pass, and so I will be visiting many schools and look forward to talking to the staff, teachers, and many of the students at the same time, too, to see what they like, what they don't like, and how we as a board and staff and school district can make things better for everybody.
You know, just as a side note, James, you mentioned about educating our kids about community and those things. One of the things that we're going to be doing with the city this year, third grade, fourth grade, is that really focusing on water conservation. Obviously, Hayes has a huge issue with water, and everybody's doing conservation measures, but they're going to bring some of that into the school and educate those kids too, which I think will make a big difference as they grow into adulthood about knowing that as a child. So we're working with them as well.
Awesome. I appreciate that, because that definitely makes a very large impact later in life. Okay, anybody else have any other comments? Okay, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please, or to approve the recommended KASB policy updates. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay? Nobody? Okay. Motion carries 4-0. All right, next up is the ratification of the tentative agreement with the Hayes NEA. Dean, do you want to go over that one?
Yes, the teachers voted, where's Kim, Wednesday, is that? Wednesday, which was in a haze, I think, that day, but no pun intended there. But they voted and ratified the contract, 156 yes votes, 37 no votes, and 1 abstained. So overwhelmingly approved the proposal, and that was the salary completely frozen, no movement horizontally or vertically, the language, and start the new E4E evaluation system that was considered a pilot last year, and now we'll move into that full swing, and that also has to do with the walkthroughs, the 5-minute walkthroughs and those things. And I know Shannon will be doing a report on that later about that whole process. And then the other was all of the minor language changes. We're trying to clean up the agreement with things that are no longer practical or don't apply. There was a couple date changes, those types of things. But that's what we're asking the board to ratify this evening. And I've been talking about committee work, and I think that's the direction we need to go with teachers, everyone, to sit down and make committees and start this process real early and go through steps and see where we are rather than wait. And I don't know, where is Kim? I thought
She's over here behind the pole.
Oh, there you are, behind the pole. But rather than wait and drag things, I think that they're on the same page as with us as far as getting started and see what direction we can go early, so.
When do you feel that we would actually start on that?
The committees, I think we need to set which committees we need, and then identify how we want to do it, who should be on the committees. I don't know if that, I know we talked about whether board is or isn't on committees. I don't think you'd have to be, but teachers, whoever it pertains to, obviously it would be teachers with the agreement we're talking about, but identify those areas and just start that process. So.
Do we have any time frame as far as when you're thinking we'll start putting some of that into place?
As soon as possible. I'm thinking September to start, have some, as early as possible. Because it's going to take a while. It's going to be a lot of work, but I think we need to go through it and really get down to the nuts and bolts of where we are with a lot of these things rather than meet and really, I don't know, Kim, you can, I think the frustration this year.
Do you want to come forward, Kim?
Yeah, I just think the frustration this year of the way things went we didn't get a lot accomplished, I didn't think. And I think looking at doing this a different way will make a big difference, so.
I think so.
Yeah.
So the different way is what, since I'm new to this?
Well, I think
What,
we really didn't do much collaborative, I didn't think,
Okay.
last year. I mean, it was just kind of we exchanged letters and discussed the issues, and then when it came down to it, well, one glaring example to me was when we were talking about it, all agreed on vesting for the 403B plan, but then when it comes down to the last minute, we find out from the provider, well, you can't do that. And I made the calls, Kim had mentioned that very early, and I called the people that set it up last year, and didn't hear that until, but it may have been somebody, did we change providers, Cheryl?
I think we did change
Yeah.
providers.
So anyway, that was one of those things that I think we need to sit down and all be on the same page. That's just one, but there's other things. This year, we're running into, not just this year, but something I think we need to all talk about is placing teachers on the salary schedule. We have froze salaries for I don't know how many years, but I don't have the details with me, but that's always something that if we place teachers, which I think has been past practice, higher than those that have been here for 10 years, and somebody comes in that's worked 7 and the teacher has been here 10, I'm just throwing this out, it may not be a very good example. So we're trying to work through that stuff, but I think we need to sit down committee-wise and see how we want to address that and how we can remedy, that's just another example.
well, and especially if there's data gathering that needs to be done.
And there's
I
a
mean,
lot, so.
You know.
And weighed, to weigh the benefits and
Yeah, I
and
mean, all that's
advantages
time
and-
consuming, and if we want to do it right, then an early start, and digging in, and,
Yeah.
Is the legal start date, what is the legal start date? Can you
Well,
start before that?
You can start anytime.
we can start on committee work anytime.
Go ahead.
Our notification dates are February 1st for negotiations, but we can start committee work. And committees we've worked on in the past, worked throughout the year. We've had insurance committees, we've had retirement committees, we had the E4E committee, and those things, those committees worked all year.
And one thing that we had talked about was the calendar committee and I don't know how the conversation all started about all year school or year-round school, and it seems like there was a calendar out there that,
We have a calendar committee.
that Mr. Brown, no, I know, but that somebody had a calendar, I thought, that was a year-round calendar in the past. Was that, I want to, is it Jerry?
I'm not sure that I
think
saw that one.
It was Jerry and.
Jerry. Something,
Yeah.
but anyway,
Okay.
those are the things that, I
Okay.
mean, whether that happens, I mean, it's not just as simple as say, oh, we're going to go all year-round school. There's a lot to it, but at least start those conversations.
and for those
see how-
committees, is it just board and teachers, or do you pull in community members? Or experts, I mean. you
We
know.
have had people come, when we had the insurance committee a couple years ago, we had an insurance person who worked with us.
Okay.
And helped us to compare plans and compare costs and compare the effect on the out-of-pocket expense to the teachers.
Okay.
So, yeah, we have had that.
I think it depends what the topic is.
Okay.
and,
Yeah.
I think everybody welcomes the expert to come in and
Okay.
give their opinions on that, so, yeah.
Okay?
Thank you.
Good,
Thanks.
thank you.
Thank you, Kim.
Thanks to Dean and Tracy, and I know a couple of board members sat in, and Kim and all the individuals that were involved to get us here to this point. I know it's not the easiest thing to do, but we have something to vote on, and I would call that success, and then we can wrap this year up and move on and start anew.
Very good. Okay, so is there a motion on the table to go ahead and approve the ratified contract?
I move to approve the tentative agreements as presented.
Okay, we have Board Member Lang with the motion. Any seconds?
A second.
Okay, Board Member Rankin seconds the motion. Any discussion?
I have a question. Why does
Okay.
it say tentative terms?
Where are you looking?
It says that we make a motion to
On the
approve the
agenda.
tentative terms of the ratified contract as presented.
Tentative agreements would be those that the respective bargaining units reached at the bargaining table.
Okay, that's just what they're called.
Yes.
Okay, until it's approved tonight, okay.
Okay, if there's no questions or comments, we'll go ahead and ask for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carries 4-0. And as Board Member Rankin said, I'd like to thank everybody as well. Kim and Dean and Bill was there, I believe, and
Yes.
many others. So thank you, and we look forward to really getting this year started. Okay, up next we have discussion by board members and agenda requests.
I had a couple of things I wanted to add on there. One of the things I guess I continue to see and hear from different people is just sports in general, to see if we can kind of put something together to go over everything from head to toe to give everybody a better idea as far as what our entire costs are associated with sports and all that. Everything from, and I don't know how far we have it broke down, but I know a lot of questions, well, we have a figure in there, what it costs for sports. Does that include, all the salaries? Does that include the buses to drive people to there and stuff like that? And I guess more than anything, just bring it forward and make sure that that way there are no questions on it, I guess is a good way to put it. So we can kind of put a number on it. And then the other question, of course, has been obviously, well, what cuts were made to the sporting programs and that type of stuff. So I'd like to at least bring that up and kind of discuss that further.
And I think part of that data sharing is also showing what contributions were made by the boosters.
Right.
And any other
Right.
donations or contributions. I mean, that
Right.
entire picture.
And then the other item I have, which I think a couple of us actually discussed, was basically discussion of correspondence from patrons, possibly at the end of the meetings. I know a lot of us are, hear things out in the public or get emails and things like that. Maybe we have a section at the end where we could possibly maybe answer some questions and things like that. I know sometimes it's easier to bring forward than to try to email a whole big long discussion about it. So.
You're talking about like at the end of the board meeting or? what do
Yeah,
you-
I don't know. Yeah,
I mean, we could talk about it at our work session,